Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video, we're going to be starting a new basic grammar lesson. The lesson that we're looking at today is basically adjectives and the words that are being described by adjectives. So for example, big book. Big is an adjective and book is the noun which is being described by big. So book is the noun which is being described by big. In Arabic we have the same thing, but one key difference is they're the opposite way around. So in English the adjective, it comes after or before, sorry, so we say big book. So big, the adjective comes before book. In Arabic it comes the opposite way around. So in essence we are saying book big. So we say kitabun, which means book, kabirun, which means big. So kitabun kabirun, not kabirun kitabun. That's wrong. In Arabic that's completely wrong. We say kitabun kabirun, which is book big, literally, in the opposite way around. And today we're going to be looking at the sifa, which in the Arabic language the adjective is called a sifa, and mawsoof is the word which is being described, and we're going to look at it in terms of 4 ways that the sifa, the adjective, follows the mawsoof. So the noun which is being described, the sifa follows it in 4 ways. The first way that it follows it is in terms of being masculine or feminine. So if the mawsoof, the word being described, the noun being described, if that is masculine or feminine, then the adjective will also follow it in that. So if it's masculine, the adjective will be masculine, and if it's feminine, the adjective will be feminine. For example, ṭālibun. ṭālibun is masculine. So to describe that ṭālib, we would have a masculine adjective. So we could say ṭālibun Mujtahidun. Mujtahidun yani hardworking. So hardworking is describing what? The student. So ṭālibun Mujtahidun. We can't say ṭālibun Mujtahidatun. Yani Mujtahidatun is feminine and ṭālibun is masculine. So we cannot say ṭālibun Mujtahidatun. It has to be Mujtahidun. It has to follow it in being masculine. Whereas if we was to describe a female student and say ṭālibatun, we would have to use Mujtahidatun, which is the female version of hardworking. So the hardworking or the sifa has to follow the mawsoof, yani ṭālib, in being masculine or feminine. So if ṭālib is feminine, yani like ṭālibun, then it has to be mujtahidun. And if it is ṭālibatun, then it has to be mujtahidatun. So that's the first thing that the sifa has to follow the mawsoof in. If the mawsoof is masculine, then the sifa is masculine, and if the mawsoof is feminine, then the sifa is also feminine. The second thing that the sifa has to follow the mawsoof in is in number. So if the mawsoof is mufrad, muthanna or jam, singular, dual or plural, then the sifa also has to follow it. So if it is singular, then the sifa has to be singular. If it's dual, then the sifa has to be dual. And if it is plural, then the sifa has to also be plural. For example, ṭālibun Mujtahidun is one student, and Mujtahidun is also the singular form of the adjective hardworking. Whereas if we said ṭālibani, and 2 students, it would be Mujtahidani. Mujtahidani, that's the dual form. And if we use the plural form, ṭullābun, we would say Mujtahidun. Mujtahidun, that's the plural form. So that's the second thing that the sifa has to follow the mawsoof in its number. If it's singular, then the sifa has to, so basically if the mawsoof is singular, then the sifa also has to be singular. If the mawsoof is dual, then the sifa also has to be dual. And if the mawsoof is plural, then the sifa also has to be plural. So the third thing that the sifa has to follow the mawsoof in is at-ta'rif or at-tankir. If it's definite or indefinite, it has to follow. So let's give an example. Let's say At-Ṭālibu. If we would say At-Ṭālibu and we want to describe the student, we would have to use the sifa also with al. So for example, At-Ṭālibu Al-Mujtahidu. At-Ṭālibu Al-Mujtahidu. The hardworking student. Or we would say Ṭālibun, which is without al, is indefinite. Ṭālibun, yani a student, it would be Mujtahidun. Also Mujtahidun will also not have al. So it's a hardworking student instead of the hardworking student. So if it is definite, then the Sifa also has to be definite, and if it is indefinite, then the Sifa also has to be indefinite. The fourth thing that the Sifa follows the Mawsoof in is al-i'rab. Al-i'rab. So if the Mawsoof is Marfoo, then the Sifa will be Marfoo, and if the Mawsoof is Mansoob, then the Sifa will be Mansoob, and if the Mawsoof is Majroor, then the Sifa will be Majroor. For example, جاء طالب مجتهد. جاء طالب مجتهد. A hard-working student came. So Ṭālibun is Marfoo. Why is it Marfoo? It's because it's the fa'il. It's the fa'il, it's the doer in the sentence. So جاء طالب, who came? The Ṭālib. The Ṭālib is the one who came, so that is Marfoo. And if you notice, I said ṭālibun mujtahidun. So ṭālibun is Marfoo and mujtahidun is also Marfoo. Let's change the sentence to make ṭālibun Mansoob. So for example, رأيت, I saw, يعني رأيت طالبا مجتهدا. رأيت طالبا مجتهدا. I saw a hardworking student. I saw a hardworking student. So طالبا in this sentence is the object, or it's the maf'ul bihi, and therefore it is Mansoob, and the Sifa mujtahidan followed it, and it is also Mansoob. And the third example is, let's make Ṭālib Majroor. So Sallamtu ala ṭālibin mujtahidin. Sallamtu ala ṭālibin mujtahidin. I gave salam to a hardworking student. So Sallamtu ala ṭālibin mujtahidin. Ṭālibin is Majroor. Why? Because it is preceded by a harf jar. And Mujtahid is also Majroor. Why? Because the Sifa has to follow the Mawsoof in i'rab. So if the Mawsoof is Marfoo, the Sifa has to be Marfoo. If the Mawsoof is Mansoob, then the Sifa also has to be Mansoob. And if the Mawsoof is Majroor, then the Sifa also has to be Majroor. So the Sifa follows the Mawsoof in four things. It follows it in At-Tadhkir or At-Ta'nīth. At-Tadhkir or At-Ta'nīth. So that is if it's masculine or feminine. Fil adad, yani in number. If it's if it's mufrad, muthanna or jam'. At-Ta'rif or At-Tankir, yani if it's definite or indefinite, they both have to follow one another in that. And the last thing is in al-i'rab, which is if it's marfu, it has to be marfu. If it's majroor, it has to be majroor. And if it's mansoob, it has to be mansoob. I hope this lesson was clear. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comments below. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we will respond as soon as possible. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.